Testing 1, 2, 3. Kia ora. Noia Kelsey.
Kia ora. What's up?
The roof, my blood pressure.
My cholesterol. Welcome to the end
of season one.
We made it.
We actually did.
How are you feeling?
Right now I'm feeling good. I feel like my body's telling me some things as well, but I'm overall feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling a little bit like I'm going to have to process this moment later.
Yeah, same. I'm feeling about the same. It's just like in what we determined like August, right? We started this project. I just like, if I was telling someone the other day, if I had have known then what I know now about the amount of mahi that went into it, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Oh, same.
So to actually be at the end now is crazy.
And I was actually thinking about this as well last night, was just the fact that, and I think I already told you yesterday, this is the most alive I've ever felt in a long time, especially given that our friendship's been, 5 years deep.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like within the last 5 years, this is something that can really be proud to say that, I'm putting my name to it. I'm putting
same
my intelligence or my skills to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And refining them all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just so... I think, it's like my mind is wanting to say something really profound, but I know that that's not going to suffice the fact that I just really need to acknowledge just the now.
Yeah. It's a lot, right? Is it an overwhelming feeling for you as well?
Yeah, of sorts.
Yeah.
I don't like to use those type of language, but I think that could be appropriate at this point in time.
Yeah.
What about you?
It feels like the end of a season, like obviously, but like we've been working on this for so long now that it's kind of unbelievable that it's coming to the end of the first season, and obviously not the end of the podcast, but like the end of this first go. And I'm just, I don't think it's quite hit me just yet. I think at the rap event it's gonna, because that is the end. Like all the episodes are out, like even these ones are out. The report is out and available to the community. There's nothing more for us to do for season 1 at that point. We've celebrated all of our guests and our sharers and all of the community that has offered you and I to be able to do this as well.
Oh, so many people.
Like that event that night, I think it's gonna, that is the end, really.
And the new beginning. So the end and the new beginning. And I feel like a little bit of me is like on the flip side to that is that these conversations are there to access any time. So just because it's the end of the season for us, it doesn't mean that we won't even tap into those intelligence whenever we need it as well.
Oh, for sure.
But it's always going to be there. And I think that's something that I'm comforted with. But yeah, I definitely feel exactly what you were saying before.
And I'm looking forward to like the completion of this first iteration of the podcast. To have it as a completed body of work, because we've been in the motion of creating it for a long time now, like almost a year.
Yeah.
And well, not really, but almost. For it to be a finished product and say, hey, we've completed a season of this thing. I don't know, it just like, it feels nice to just kind of like wrap it up and sit it over there and say, that was that. And I know we're going to talk about it later, but like, what did we learn? What are we going to do differently next time? And move into the next stage of this creation.
And I think this is, because when you look at knowledge production or anything like that, or just creating any type of, belief system or ideology, I feel like this is something that I've never imagined that I could do myself. And this is probably the first time I ever walked in my own skill set as well as being stretched in every way, shape or form, because I feel like I mean, yeah, it's been such an amazing journey.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about before, is if I had known what this looked like,
Go there.
like the mahi side of it, not the talking to people, that's the funnest part.
Best part.
Amazing. And I'm really grateful that people felt like they could share with us on that, and in a public domain as well. But if I had have known the amount of mahi that went into it, like I said, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Well, I guess we would have psyched ourselves out based on our old thinking.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one of the gems that's come out of this whole journey and this whole process of rediscovering and discovering new things, is that my mindset now and my worldview now compared to what it was before, and that's like what, less than 6 months or 7 months? Was it more than that? 8 months. So yeah, that is wow. That's already over
like
half a year.
Almost a pregnancy.
Oh my gosh.
At March, end of March, it's probably going to be a pregnancy. Here's our baby.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
My brain went real weird then. Okay, move on.
All right. So what has changed between the start and now for you?
A lot, to be honest. I think I started this project as a way to kind of, and this is probably going to sound really selfish, and I'm aware of this, and I don't think that it will overshadow or whatever to, the mahi that we have put in, but I think that I use this project as a way to escape my life. Because when we started, I was probably a month or two out of my relationship ending, and I wasn't ready to deal with it, and so I just overcommitted myself to full-time mahi. Starting this podcast, I took on a graduate program at the university and did 2 papers last semester, all while also trying to, grow and expand my photography business. And it was a lot, and it came back and it kicked me in the ass, hard out.
Do you want to just explain that? What does hard out actually look like?
I couldn't do anything for 6 weeks, at least. So mid-November till the start of January, I was essentially stuck at home. I couldn't really do anything. I was so sick. And I think it was just full-on burnout. And it was, mentally as well, it was pretty rough. And then when I did go back to work, I was only at work for 2 weeks, and then it came back. Not as hard as it did the first time, but it still all came back and put me off work for another couple of weeks. And then, I kind of went on this retreat with a local organisation, and I was like, well, this could be my reality, I don't have to be in full-time mahi for someone else as I don't know, I think I used that job as a security blanket. And now, at this stage, what's the date today? What is the date today?
7th of March.
On the 7th of March, I have less than 3 weeks of work left at that employer. Yeah.
What does that even feel like?
It's pretty incredible, to be honest. And I kind of mentioned it in the podcast we did with Gemma, called Take Your Meds.
Take Your
with Gemma
Meds.
Rose. Check it out.
Yep.
That this feels like the first time that I'm actually backing myself, because I'm leaving 40 hours a week for 16 hours a week in an organisation that I wholeheartedly want to support the kaupapa through my, gifting my skills and stuff, and reciprocity for money. So working for this organisation, and then figuring the rest out, completing that grad program at uni. I've got 2 papers left, And then developing my own business. Because I want to work for someone who is flexible, who it gives me autonomy. Working for myself, I can do both of those things.
Mm-mm.
And this other organisation I'm working with gives me both of those as well. And steady income so I can pay my rent.
Can I just ask, from when you were really sick to the decision of you going from 40 hours to 16 hours, what was that process like? Or were you already mulling the fact, like before even November, you were already mulling the fact that how are you going to actually step into your own and back your own?
It's always kind of been a thought in the back of my mind, but I don't think I was ready. And then when I was ill, I was like, well, I didn't think the job was making me ill. I thought it was my succumbing to my circumstances.
Ooh, wow.
And just like letting life happen to me rather than taking action. And obviously my body just couldn't do it anymore. And even now, like, I still have a few, like, my energy levels are still quite low. And I get tired quite easily still from, like, as remnants from that illness. And it wasn't COVID, by the way. Just put that out there. Not COVID. Not COVID. I don't know. I'm excited about life for the first time in a long time.
Oh wow! Oh yep, I'll give you some clicks for that. That's fucking buzz.
Yeah. What's happening on your side?
A lot, and at the same time, like I'm just observing it happen in a way. I know it sounds pretty like counselly or anything like that, but I'm trying my hardest to observe that because I feel like if I absorb it, it'll be a different story. And I think in a way, my body's kind of telling me that I need to look after myself a lot more. And it's always been telling me, firstly, let me just check myself. It's always been telling me. I think I've just been roundabouting it. Like we go
not listening.
Yeah, basically. Facts. And to me, I feel like now more than ever, I need to maybe go through my own journey of actually allowing myself to listen in a way that's uplifting my body and my autonomy in that, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I think in a way I wasn't taught the best habits, and at the same time I've absorbed a lot of my own habits. So that's me taking accountability for my own choices. So yeah, I guess to me, work-wise, everything's been very educational. Is probably the nicest way I can say that. Only because I feel like I don't like to see, I don't like to see things as negative or positive. I just like to think of them as experiences. And if I look at it from that perspective, it's kind of like, okay, what can I learn?
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done, but
100%.
so much easier said than done, because I feel like I've really been awake to the fact that my mind likes to take me to the negative space so quickly. Like it's like you give me black or white, and I'm like, ooh, why white? Why black? And I'm like this. Oh, okay. If my mind likes to take me there automatically, kind of like going back to your whakaaro in one of the episodes, you said your first thought is the one that you shouldn't rely on.
Your conditioned thought.
Yeah, and your second thought is most likely the thought that's aligned with you and your values and the person that you are. So for me, I'm really starting to realize the fact that my mind just takes me there free willingly that fast. And I'm like, okay, how do I rewind that? Or how do I work with that? This is probably a better understanding or better framing for me, is how do I work with the fact that my mind takes me there automatically? And where does a pause need to exist?
I think being aware of it's pretty big. Like self-awareness, and we all know you're self-aware as fuck. Sometimes to your detriment. But often in this case, being aware of it, I'd say is half the solution.
You're so right, because I can see in spaces and places of my work, the new learnings that I've received from our community of intelligence being adding value. And then at the same time, I feel like different lessons come in waves. And I love that I have, like, so I feel like that's one thing that's really changed is that my community of intelligence has broadened outside of my own community. So I think because you have the tenacity to actually explore your curiosity, which is something that that's something that I really admire about you actually, is that you actually leaned into your curiosity and then brought the people in. You know, I feel like as much as I'd love to say that this was my original idea, you know, it's very much I've been tapped in and we've tapped in other people and we've tapped in other people and tapped in other people, and it's just kind of grown in its natural way like that. But I feel like, yeah, the planting of the seed was you the farmer.
Yeah, but I only ever wanted to do it with you.
Oh. Ew.
And I wouldn't have been comfortable to do this with anybody else.
Why?
Because I think like I can trust you 100%. Okay, 98%.
Like the backtrack and disclaimer.
Yeah. I shouldn't have given you that much credit.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, validation.
No.
2 times in 1 minute? Oh my God.
97.3%.
The end, we're ending there?
47. No, because I've like in this space, I think it's gonna like I knew there was gonna be vulnerable conversations, and I value that we have similarities in our upbringings, but just in quite different contexts. And I think that offered a well-rounded opportunity for our guests to bounce off or connect with one or both of us.
Yeah, and I feel like I'd really stretch that to say that the space that we're able to create, I think we've got a lot of feedback that the space that we create because of, you know, our lived experiences, but at the same time, our joint experiences and what we create for other people.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm slowly getting confidence around that. The fact that, you know, there's a juice that we create for other people. And that's something that I'm slowly adjusting to that and slowly getting confidence in that. But I'm really, to back your kōrero before, I'm more aware of the juice that we create with each other and invite other people into that.
Yeah.
And that's not even coming from an ego space. It's very much, I guess, us being aware to our natural talent, or that's something that our pumanawa, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people have said, and I think it does back up our lived experiences, because I think if I'm reflective of my own experience, I always wanted to be heard within my family. I always wanted to be heard within my communities.
Yeah.
And not from a superficial, I hear you. It's like, no, I want to be heard, received, and loved. You know, as opposed to just being like, I hear you, Joe. And because I want that, like in my own self-reflections, I try to gift that. And one of my cousins actually was like, it's almost like you entertain that people are intelligent and like you really give people the time. And I'm like, because everyone deserves it.
Yeah, everyone is intelligent. Everyone comes with their own kete of knowledge, right?
And you can learn from everybody, like everyone. I think people just, I guess we prioritize different
Academia.
different learning systems, because we all are selfish in wanting to get somewhere because of the way we're conditioned. But that's a really blanket generalized statement as I say that. But from my lived experience, I felt like because I wanted to be heard, I'm gifting that to, and I feel like there's remnants of that I can see from your side with your own nuance of experience. Your thoughts?
Yep. No, I agree.
What else has changed for you?
I thought this phase of transition for me was going to be really stressful, and it has had moments of stress, but I think those are societal conditions of stress, and particularly financially. But personally, I'm got this weird I really don't know how to explain it other than this sense of calm and just like I'm making the right decision.
By you?
Yeah. Like I've finally listened to myself for the first time in a long time. And I was more scared about staying in that full-time job than I was about being poor and partially employed.
I mean, that's an awakening on its own.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm shitting my pants, but I'm so excited about it. Yeah. It's pretty terrifying. But
why is that? Why
I'm
is that?
so excited for all of the possibilities that are coming my way. I think I'm scared because I'm actively choosing to step outside of what's expected of someone who is successful, or like that's what we expect when we think of an adult who's working, is a 40-hour job a week. And I'm choosing not to do that anymore, and it's scary because I feel like people are going to judge me, and I know that it's their judgment, it has nothing to do with me, but I'm still like, I'm going to have to start saying no to stuff because I just don't have the money. But that's not important to me. It's important to me to start building my own business so that in the future I have flexibility and autonomy to myself, not to somebody else.
And not continuously rely on that source of income, because I feel like, I think you might have actually pointed out the dangers of actually being too comfortable and too interreliant on that cash flow, because I feel like it creates this false sense of security and it creates this false sense of autonomy that you've got that coming in all the time and everything's fine. And I'm like, no, you just found a bigger blanket. So, well, that's what I'm taking away. Is that what you're saying?
And then right now, is even like particularly because, we work in the education sector, there's no international students. There's people losing their jobs all the time in this sector. And I realized the other day that if I'm going to try and get back into this sector, if whatever doesn't work out, I'm probably not going to get a job. Holy shit.
Lean into it.
I know. It's exciting.
And you know how I was talking to you about yesterday around how randomly things just keep on coming into your life. That's just like, you could call it a tuhu, you could call it a gift or a sign or whatnot. But I saw you at Tuihana's abundance conversation, and I'm just like, oh my God, what does abundance look like in that space? So I feel like you're leaning into that. I think there's no one else that's doing it around you, so that's why it might seem unfamiliar, but I feel like you might be leading the pack before the pack actually starts doing the domino effect, which is probably not going to be successful for you right now in terms of whakaaro, but hopefully it could land somewhere else.
Anyway, let's get away from that conversation.
What?
I'm done with that. Move on.
Yeah, the only thing that I feel like else that has changed completely for me, apart from being stretched in an intellectual capacity, is just being rooted in the fact that I know who I am and where I come from, and I'm just really comfortable with that. I'm going, I guess in a way, I'm leaning on my gifted name from my peoples. So to me, if you can see that I've changed my name, my Facebook and Instagram name to Malusil, it's because I just want to acknowledge that, I might have a different opinion on that, but to me, that those names were gifted to me. Yeah. And I want to acknowledge the people's, my singoa. So it's kind of like my namesake, or in Fiji they call it yava. So I just want to acknowledge the people who gifted me my name, and at the same time, the people who held that name and took journeys with that name. And to me, I've been really rooted in the fact that I know a little bit more about who I am and what I can do in this world, and at the same time, that I can tap into any one of my ancestors for just support. And I think, that's been it's been a really good safety net to just understand that I'm not scared of anything. Yeah. I never was at the beginning, but I guess for me, the conditioning is heavy to a point where I'm trying to find out, maybe I can fit in the gay world. Maybe I can fit in the queer world. Maybe I can fit in the Pacifica world. Maybe I can fit in the Maori world. Or maybe I can fit in the Kiwi world. So to me, all of that assimilation was, or all of that wanting to belong, but
Mhm.
always felt like the outsider,
Mm.
that has gifted me a different worldview to a point where I'm like, okay, I actually know that where I am right now is exactly where I need to be. That's such a, I've never felt so strong about that.
Mm.
Because usually I'm bouncing from the future to the past, and then you already called it before, paralysis through analysis.
Yeah.
But I've never been comfortable in just acknowledging what's happening in the now and acknowledging whatever the space is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our different speakers ignited that out of me, or evoked that out of me, I should say.
What can we do to support you to stay in that space?
Ooh. I think, just reminding me by calling me Malusil, just reminding me all the time. Because when you call my name, you call their name. So to me, I feel like
Ooh.
that's what you're doing. You're reminding me constantly when you call me Malusil or Joseph or Toliani or Monisi. Like, to me, all of those names were gifted to me. So I really see it as that, because I've done, like, please understand, there was another time where I didn't want to be called Malusil because someone mistook me for muesli. So that little thing didn't serve me for a long time, actually. I held that for up until this year. So from primary school up until this year, I held that story that I told myself for a long time.
How does it feel to let it go?
So good, and at the same time so scary, because I painted a lot of stories around that and self-sabotage, and I told a lot of different people that story in different spaces and places because it served me. So I don't regret it, but at the same time, I just acknowledge the fact that, when you experience something like that or trauma like that, I guess another way of healing is to go and get the sheep who can understand and follow you in that space. And once you attract all of your sheep and you've got a community of sheep that understand that story, it kind of builds a concreted wall that makes it harder to dismantle.
Yeah.
Because you've already built a whole narrative around it.
Yeah.
And you've gifted a support system that supports the fact that now I want people to call me Joe instead of Malusil. And then now trying to dismantle that wall, I'm just still trying to heal from my own ego of being like, oh, fuck, I painted a whole lot of bullshit for myself.
That's massive.
So that's probably one of the bigger journeys that I'm going on, because it's just trying to help me understand that. And I think you just support me 100% just by just acknowledging that I exist. Like, I know that it's not a lot to you, but coming from a childhood and like from the way I was raised and not being acknowledged just for just being in the room or anything like that, that's such a, I guess to me, that's why I make my, like, in my woo way, I make an effort to make sure everyone in the room is at least acknowledged. Because I'm like, fuck, I don't want that feeling for anyone else.
Yeah.
And it might come across as like me prying or anything like that, but I'm just really just saying hello. But yeah, thanks for that question. I feel like I didn't even think about how people could keep on supporting me in that way. So that was
So season 2, no more Joe.
Bye.
Welcome, Malusil. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. And please, I invite people to fail through saying my name, because you're inviting for me to converse with you.
Can you give people a crash course on how to say it?
Ma Lu Seu. So it's just, in my language, Ma'ala U Sa E U, which is basically saying like ABC, like just spelling my name out. But it's Ma Lu Seu. So it's my father's name, and he was a great figure within the churches, within the Tuvaluan community. So I feel like, to me, it's just something that I really want to uplift, and I just want to uplift my journey in an authentic way, as opposed to being like, I'm only Ratuman, or I'm half Ratuman, half Tuvaluan. And I'm like, I'm full of both.
Full of bullshit.
I was waiting for that. And yeah, that's
Gonna
us.
bring you
Lana.
down off your little high horse over there.
When am I not?
No, you're fine. Love you.
Love you too.
Anything else?
No, the only thing that I would say is I really have seen you grow. That's something that I want.
I went up a pant size.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I'm just kidding.
No, I've seen you grow just holistically. I think there's different times where you've been the one that's emotionally supportive, and then there's different times where I've seen you emotionally just break down and let loose. And that's something that I'm like, whew. And then at the same time, just in different capacities, like I loved working and still love working alongside you. I feel like for me, we've built that culture of trust where I'm like, meh, not in the mood, or meh, come on, we need to hustle this through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we come together to like hustle things through really well.
Yeah, 100% agree.
But yeah, that's basically like, that's me.
Yeah. I would agree. I think that we like just being honest with each other. Just been like, man, I can't do it today. We're like, okay, cool. When then? Yeah.
And then even asking each other, like, I know it's really simple, but I feel like you've asked me, there's differences where you've asked me, what does support look like? Or there's different things where I'm like, do you need me to do this or this? Or how can I support?
Yeah.
Instead of just what we would usually do of just being like, I'll support you through this. And it's like, that's completely pointless to me.
Yeah. Support through the way that we expect it rather than the way that you need it.
That's a whole massive like fuck you conversation on its own.
Yeah.
But yes, that's us.
All right. We've got 2 more of these for you, so stay tuned. The next one is what we've learnt from our guests. And then number 3 is where to next?
Where to next? The next dimension. Fuck you.
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 Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you, bitch. No.